Okay, today we're working on a 4-inch Ames 3000SS. We are doing a complete module replacement for the first check. Luckily, the second check passed, so I didn't want to mess with it because it is a pain in the butt to get out. So we're starting off by removing the bolts to the top. We want to get in here to be able to flush it out. As you guys will see right now, once we get it open, there is a ton of rust at the bottom. So I have my Milwaukee hand pump. We pump it out a couple times and flush it. Try to get as much of that gunk out as we can. Before I started this video, I did some flushing. So at first the water was coming out pretty orange. As you could tell from this video, it's a lot cleaner. Was hoping that it would get it to pass initially, and it did not work. So here we are opening it up. Starting off again by pumping it out, pumping some of that water out. This is a twist off module. So once you start getting into the bigger ranges, the 8-inch and 10-inch, those are bolts. So those are pretty easy to get out. These are fairly easy as well. They do sell a tool to help you. I do not have that tool yet though. They did not have it in stock where I buy parts. So I did it the old-fashioned way and just use a screwdriver, little rubber mallet. It'll help get you out of a bind. If you don't have the tool, you really, in a sense, don't need it. It just makes life a little easier. As you could tell, it's caked up with grime, all kinds of gunk. It was a little bent, the spring. So luckily we're replacing that. Once I get this new module ready to go, I'm greasing up all the O-rings. I'm greasing up everything. Behind the scenes, off camera, right here, I'm just hitting it with a little bit of an abrasant to kind of clean up some of that rust, clean up where the seat is at. You'll see right now I start to pull out pretty big chunks of rust that were in there. So the main thing when working on these things is try to flush them as much as possible. As you'll see in this video, as you could tell, I have the number 4 test cock off. I wanted to keep the number 2 check pressurized because it was working just fine. I don't want any of that debris and any of that gunk to get in there. So I left that one pressurized and I just depressurized the test cock number 2 and test cock number 3. Right here, again, I'm flushing it out. I'm going to flush it several times till I'm seeing that water run clear, till I'm not seeing any sediment or anything at the bottom. That is a good sign that you've flushed enough. Again, you'll see me reach in here and kind of clean it out a bit, getting more of that gunk out. We want to get as much of that stuff out as possible. So the slightest little thing in these checks causes them to act up and not seal properly. It'll also damage the rubbers, so we want to get rid of all that. Okay, right here we're getting that first check module in there. I'm doing it hand tight as much as I can. You don't want to torque down on it too much. You don't want to bend that arm. So once I got it to where it was fairly tight without me damaging it, you get a screwdriver again, a little rubber mallet action, get it locked in, you're good to go. Doesn't need to be super tight. You just want to get it pretty snug in there. So like I said, before I put this in there, I grease it up really good. You want to put plenty of that food grade grease in there. I also, you'll see right now the cap, I made sure that I cleaned around it. It had a ring of rust and a bunch of gunk on it, so I cleaned it up as much as I can. You'll see me fidgeting around trying to get this thing on there right. Now you want to make sure that rubber is seated both on the body and on that cap. You do not want that cap to pop off. Now getting these things on sometimes is a bit of a pain just because of the limited amount of space that you have. So you'll see me struggling a bit. So finally got it on there. Get the other side on. Now the bolts were pretty rusted and stuff, but they're still in good condition. They were on there before, so just gave them a little rinsing and they were good to go. Now here I am putting the nuts on. You want to screw them hand tight at first. You don't want to strip them. So like I said, these are older. I mean, you could always replace them and stuff, but that's going to be more out of your pocket, more out of the customer's pocket. The bolts are still good, use them. So here I am making sure everything is tight. Now I'm going to be using a trick that a Backflow mentor of mine showed me. So since we have the number 2 pressurized still, it is still pressurized at this point, and we do not want to stir up too much sediment in the lines, we are going to use the number 1 test cock using one of the hoses with a filter on it. And we're going to fill up that number 1 check and that buffer in between the 2 checks, that chamber that we were working in. We're going to fill them up by hand using one of these hoses that has a filter. So none of that gunk is going to get in there. Like I said, the smallest little rock, the smallest little thing will cause this thing to fail. We do not want to open this back up and spend more time on it. We want to get it ready to go and get it good for another year. So here I am filling up both of these things. Once they are topped off pretty much, I close the ball valves, and that is when I open the number 1 shutoff, which causes it to fully pressurize. So you're not stirring up too much of the, which we did multiple flushes, so there shouldn't be too much in the line. This is just precautionary so that we were not having to redo everything and possibly damaging anything. At this point, the device is pressurized. The number one shutoff is on. So we are just getting the gauge ready, filling up the sight tube, getting this ready to rock and roll. You'll see that that number one check is holding pretty high, which is a good sign. Especially since this check, when I first tested it, immediately bottomed out. So I believe the reading was 4.6 on the check one. Also, off camera, I did inspect the module that I removed. The arm was bent. It did have nicks in the rubber, so it explains why it bottomed out so quick. Here I am getting ready to check the number two check. Again, number two check stood pressurized the whole time. We did not want to risk messing anything up or any debris getting into that number two check and causing it to fail. The number two check is a pain in the butt to replace on these. So if you could avoid replacing the number two, by all means, try to not replace it if it's still good to go, which in this case it was. After this test, it held at 3.2. Device is good and now passing. Now the rest of this video is just a teardown process, taking everything apart, putting all my equipment away, getting this device back in service, turning on the shutoffs for the bypass. So if you're still here, I would like to thank you. If you like this content, please let me know if you would like me to continue making these videos. Whenever I get any type of repairs, I'll try to document them and record them like this, get a good angle so you could see. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. My website is www.allstarbackflow.com. If you would like to reach out via email, if you have any questions or need any help, my email is service@allstarbackflow.com. And if you need any testing here in California, we cover all of San Diego County, Orange County, Riverside County, San Bernardino, and Los Angeles County. We also have a network of testers that we work with in Northern California. So all of San Francisco, Sacramento. If it's in California, we got you covered. Give us a call. Thank you very much.